The Boston Red Sox have a big Netflix deal now. What? Lots to digest on today's Locked On Red Sox.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast, and I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed for free. And there's a lot of things to be excited about with free, so might as well check out the show. Locked On is here for you every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. As always, thank you for tuning in to Locked On Red Sox, you everydayers who are here with me every single day. I thank you all. I would not be here if it weren't for people like you who constantly support me and support my content. So I am truly forever grateful for you. And those of you who are new, welcome to the show. I like to describe this as a show where we feel the same emotions as what the Boston Red Sox are giving us. So if they have a really bad game, we're angry. If they have a frustrating game, I am annoyed. If they have a very good game where they hit a walk-off home run, I am elated when I record. So it all depends on how the Red Sox are doing that night. So let's just hope that there are more good days than bad this upcoming season with the Red Sox. But who knows, really, with the moves they've made this offseason. It's not looking incredibly promising for them right now. And a little bit later in the show, I'm going to be talking about how they stack up to one of their division rivals as we get closer to spring training starting. But first of all, there was news that came out that the Red Sox have a Netflix deal. I mean, first of all, where did that come from? And second of all, what? I mean, the concept is cool. It's very similar to some other sports documentary shows that we've seen. But essentially, there's going to be two new Netflix shows that center around the Boston Red Sox. One is basically the Netflix team following the Red Sox through the 2024 season and then basically presenting a documentary series in 2025. This documentary will be produced and directed by Greg Whiteley of One Potato Productions. Netflix said on Wednesday it will have unprecedented access to players, coaches, and executives throughout the 2024 season. So it's basically just going to be a story of the season. They're going to follow the players and coaches, talk to them, learn what kinds of hardships the team went through throughout the season, and learn about what went well for them. We'll get a closer look at probably what the team chemistry is really like on this 2024 team, get more of an inside look into what goes into being a part of the Boston Red Sox in 2024. Now, I saw so many reactions to this on Twitter that were interesting. Lots of mixed responses. It's definitely cool to me. I think it's a great way for people to feel like they're more connected with the team, especially with a team that might be lacking that connection with the fans right now. And there are people who feel disengaged with the team because of the lack of offseason moves that the Red Sox have made. So even if the Red Sox are not good in 2024, I still think this series is going to drive a lot of traffic because it's a cool new concept and it's the first time MLB is doing something like this. So for the Red Sox to be the first team featured is definitely telling of the fact that they are, at the end of the day, even though they're not acting like it right now, one of the most historic franchises in the history of baseball. And there's a lot of history at Fenway Park. I'm sure that the documentary might touch on what it's like for some of these players to play regularly at such a historic ballpark. I mean, that's got to be cool in itself. and they're going to be talking to the coaching staff and really getting an insight into their everyday jobs and what they're doing to help the players stay focused during a 162 game season. And I've had the pleasure with speaking with some former players in general over the years of me being in the podcast space. And I've just asked them about how they focus themselves for the entirety of a season. And they've all kind of given different answers to that question. So from the standpoint of really getting an inside look as to what that's like, this could be really good for people. On the flip side, I could see it backfiring in a way that it could be seen as a distraction. Craig Breslow expressed some hesitancy with this whole project because he feels like it might be a distraction for the players on the field. And I definitely could see where he's coming from. If you're constantly having cameras on you and they're filming in-game action, they're filming you doing batting practice, they're filming pitchers warming up, that could be distracting and take away from the mental focus that it takes to prepare for a game. So I could understand Craig Breslow's hesitation with that. Alex Cora, though, and a lot of the other coaches on the staff seem excited about it, and they said it's a great opportunity to really get this team featured in the best way possible to showcase what the Boston Red Sox are about. So there's definitely some inside differentiations in feelings on this. Some people are feeling really confident about it, others not so much. It's absolutely a type of thing where it could be really bad or it could be really good, but I'm excited for it. I think this overall is good for the Red Sox, and with where the team is at right now, there are a lot of younger players on this Boston Red Sox team who are still trying to establish themselves and create their own identity on this Boston Red Sox roster. And for a lot of the young guys, they like that kind of exposure. The guys who don't get as much attention, like people who aren't Rafael Devers or Trevor Story or even Tristan Casas now with the season he had, guys who are a little bit less known than that might be trying to continue to pave their way. And what if Tristan Casas has an incredible season in 2024? How cool would it be for him to look back on that and it was documented that he had that season that he had? So there are a lot of pros that go into this. I definitely see the con in that it could be distracting, and also the fact that the Red Sox season could end up being a complete dumpster fire. It's so hard to say. Like I've mentioned on the show a lot of things have to go right for this Boston Red Sox team in order for them to compete in 2024. And if things start going wrong, it could be an absolute mess. So that's going to be a challenge for the team, and having this Netflix documentary that's going to be viewed by a lot of people maybe could fuel a fire in the players to say, okay, we want to perform really well this year. And it could amp up the overall camaraderie in the clubhouse. So from that standpoint, it's also a good thing. So it really depends on the Red Sox season, how this documentary is going to go. But one that I know will go well, that I'm sure the Red Sox and the Netflix team are putting a lot of thought into already, is a documentary that they plan to air this year that focuses on the 2004 Red Sox, the team that just was so special and broke that curse of the Bambino, winning the team's first World Series title since 1918. I mean, that's a huge deal. This one will be directed by Colin Barnacle, though, a son of former Boston Globe and Herald columnist Mike Barnacle, and produced by Meadowlark Media, which was founded by former ESPN president John Skipper. There's a lot to say about the 2004 Red Sox, and the cool thing about that documentary is that I'm sure a lot of those legends that were on that team will be brought back to be in the documentary, share their experiences about what that historic World Series run was like, and be able to give a firsthand account of mentally what it took to go from being down 0-3 to come back all the way straight into winning the World Series. I'm interested in hearing something like that, and these are the types of questions that a lot of people would like to ask a player if they were face to face with them, but we don't always get those types of answers as fans. So being able to have this perspective in a documentary about a team that makes Red Sox fans very excited to think back on is going to be a very successful thing. And when you compare the two, the 2004 one, I'm sure, is going to perform much better. Just a lot more legends on that team, a lot of guys who just had that absolute dog in them, guys who just wouldn't give up and were resilient. And we don't know if the 2024 team is going to be like that or not. So it'll be interesting to see how this 2025 documentary performs. Overall, I see pros and cons to it, but I think it could be a good experience for the Boston Red Sox to help elevate the performances of some of these guys on the team and hopefully get them to stay focused for the full length of the season. Coming up, though, how do the 2024 Boston Red Sox stack up to their division rivals? I'm going to be putting them up head-to-head against a very competitive team in the division next. If you're ever trying to score last-minute tickets for something, Gametime absolutely has you covered. I actually used Gametime very recently. I was getting concert tickets to go to a Dan and Shay concert with my friends in April at TD Garden. It'll be a great concert. Dan and Shay is one of my favorite country bands, and the tickets on Gametime were significantly cheaper than on other sites. I mean, I looked on a lot of different sites because I wanted to just see what the prices were, and it was actually crazy how much different Gametime really was. It's pretty cool. And they have tickets to so many events like concerts, playoff games, anything you are thinking of, comedy shows, really any event in your area, Gametime will have it. Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the view from your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total up front so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. Buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Gametime is fantastic. If you ever are interested in saving money on tickets, it is definitely the place for you. The other place for you is Locked On Sports Today on YouTube, as Locked On has actually launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel, and you can now also find it on Amazon Fire TV, which is super exciting. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find the Locked On Sports Today channel now on Amazon Fire TV. So there's different outlets you can do. You can subscribe to it on YouTube. You can find it on Amazon Fire TV, and you can get caught up in all things sports with all of us here at Locked On. Going into the season, the Boston Red Sox roster on paper looks significantly weaker than rosters of other teams in the division. And one team that talent-wise blows the Red Sox out of the water right now is the Toronto Blue Jays. And I just wanted to go over kind of some of that depth chart that the Blue Jays actually really have after their offseason moves were made. So as we know, they did sign Justin Turner, which is still upsetting to me. I'm a big JT fan. I thought he was a great fit in Boston, but no, the Red Sox were not interested in bringing him back. So he's going to be a great clubhouse leader for Toronto. And the biggest thing for me with the Blue Jays is there's too much talent on that team for them to not get over the hump and continue to struggle in the postseason the way that they do. I have always felt like they were a team with the potential to not only win the division, but then make a big competitive playoff run. And they haven't been able to do that yet. And one of those reasons could be because they didn't have that true clubhouse leader to help them in those pressure-filled situations. And Justin Turner, to me, can be that guy for the Blue Jays. His talent that he showed in Boston was phenomenal. If he shows any semblance of that in Toronto, it'll be enough for them. And his leadership just can't be explained enough, how important that was to the Red Sox in 2023 and how much of a difference I'm sure it will make to the Blue Jays in 2024. So that alone is an advantage that the Blue Jays have over the Red Sox. They also signed pitcher Yusei Kikuchi. I'm interested in seeing how he performs. He's the type of pitcher who could have a very good season or maybe an underwhelming season. It's hard to know which one yet he will have, but if he ends up being as good of a pitcher as people are thinking he will be, then he definitely has the opportunity to make some noise. I mean, we didn't see a lot of him in 2023. He really only started in 32 games, and he had a 386 earned run average. So his potential and ability level, we still haven't gotten to fully see yet. So I'm interested in knowing how he performs with this Toronto team this year, because he needs to have a season where he's healthy all season long and he's used as a more regular starter, because 32 games is the most games that he started in his career. So to me, it really feels like there's just simply not a big enough sample size to know, can he sustain a full 162 game season and be effective? So that's a question mark for me. Kevin Gausman, Chris Bassett, Jose Barrios, those guys will likely be their 1, 2, 3, with Alex Manoah also in that rotation. Manoah struggled last year. He definitely didn't have a season that people expected him to have. I anticipate that will change in 2024. However, the Blue Jays rotation is far above the Red Sox right now. Even if those two that I mentioned aren't as good as the Blue Jays are hoping for, those three pitchers in Kevin Gausman, Chris Bassett, and Jose Barrios, they are all proven guys with a lot of talent. So I trust that those three will be able to make for those competitive starters. And think about it, when you get to the playoffs, if you have three very solid starters, that's enough to get you to the World Series. And unfortunately, the Red Sox rotation right now is just too much of a major question mark. Lots of things that need to go right, which is the common theme for Boston this offseason. So if I'm comparing the two starting rotations, I'm definitely giving Toronto an edge, and it's not even really that close. In terms of relief pitching, the Blue Jays bullpen was solid in 2023. They were very effective as an overall unit, and I expect that to be the same in 2024. They have some solid arms coming out of their pen, like Tim Meza, Yimi Garcia, Chad Green, Nate Pearson. Those are all guys who can easily contribute out of their bullpen and be effective. Jordan Romano, their closer, absolute nails. Nothing but respect for him and his play style, but I never like when he comes up against the Red Sox in a close game. They have a good bullpen, and their bullpen will be competitive. But that being said, the Red Sox bullpen will also be competitive to me. The bullpen in Boston last year was good, and I really don't think it got worse for this year. The bullpen was actually one of the strongest things about the Boston Red Sox during the 2023 season, and I expect that to be the same in 2024. So I'm actually putting both teams pretty equally in terms of their bullpen. There's a lot of talent on both ends there, and I think both teams have some solid talent coming out of their pen to the point where there aren't as many question marks as there are for the Red Sox rotation. So then when you look at the offensive side of the ball, I mean, the Blue Jays are just absolutely stacked on offense. I mean, it's not even funny. First base with Vlad and Justin Turner primarily being in that position. Kevin Biggio at second base, who also is very talented. Bo Bichette at shortstop. A lot can be said about him. All-star caliber player, incredibly talented too. Then you go to their third base situation, though, and it's looking a little bit dicey. They have Isaiah Kiner-Falefa there and Santiago Espinal. Kiner-Falefa struggled when he was with the Yankees. Now, part of that could have been environment. Too hard to say. Santiago Espinal had an okay season last year. 248 batting average, only 2 home runs and 57 hits with 25 RBIs. So for him, a little bit of an underwhelming season in 2023. So I'm not overly sold on that third base spot for them. That could be a shaky position for Toronto. In the outfield, though, Dalton Varsho and Kevin Biggio likely in left field. Center field, they have Kiermaier, who's one of the best defenders in the league. And then George Springer in right field, one of the best overall players in the league. There's just a lot of talent on this Blue Jays team. And Alejandro Kirk, who's also pretty good for a catcher. I like the makeup of this Blue Jays team. I've been saying that for a while. When you look at the Red Sox offense, though, the Red Sox definitely do have talent on the offensive side of the ball. But again, it's less proven talent. And proven is a big thing for me. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, Tyler O'Neill is going to be way better than George Springer in 2024. I can't confidently say that because O'Neill's just battled with too many injuries the last few seasons, so we haven't gotten to see enough of him yet to know that. And, even defensively, you have Kevin Kiermaier in center. Jarren Duran is a great defender, but then you go to Yoshida, and he's not the best defensively either. But when it comes to the offense, they don't have a Rafael Devers on the team. They don't have Tristan Casas on the team. Those guys are special, and those guys are going to hit, and they're going to perform offensively. And the catching situation, Danny Jansen is very much not that good. I would take either Red Sox catcher over him. And, depending on what they do here, if they do decide to move somebody to DH and bring in another position player, that could change some of the things here too. I do think the Red Sox lineup won't be as bad as people are hoping. I am going to miss Turner's productivity in the lineup, but I think it'll still be a competitive enough offense. So from that standpoint, overall, I'm still giving Toronto more of an advantage on the offensive side of the ball, but not as crazy as you might think. Ultimately, though, I do think that the Blue Jays finish a good amount ahead of the Red Sox. I think there's going to be a lot of games that it's evident that they're just kind of a step ahead of where Boston's at right now. They have more experience on that team and less of an experimental type of roster. Whether it's a postseason roster, I've always said it is, but for some reason the Blue Jays haven't been able to get over that hump, so maybe this is the year they do. Overall, I think I'm putting the Blue Jays to finish about 8 to 10 games ahead of Boston. I just think they're a better team. And the Red Sox can surprise a lot of people this year, but I still think Toronto's one step ahead. Coming up, we are one day closer to opening day, and we're going to be remembering a player who was an absolute legend for Boston. If you like sports betting at all and feel like it's for you, then you should absolutely head to FanDuel today. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. The Super Bowl to me is so fun. I'm so excited to have friends over this weekend. My fiance and I have 2 very nice big TVs in our basement that we worked so hard to finish. So it's a nice area for people to hang out, watch the game, have some food, have some drinks, whatever they want, and watch Usher, who I think is going to have an amazing halftime performance. But there's also so many bets you can make too to add to the fun. FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W, or 2, or 3. Not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points will be scored, and so much more. New customers join today and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit fanduel.com/lockedon to sign up. That's fanduel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. My fiance was actually just on FanDuel last night talking about the bets that he made on basketball. Didn't go so well for him that day, but he has had some great days, so head to FanDuel today. Also, subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube to get access to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel, and it's now actually also available on Amazon Fire TV. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. So what you have to do is just search Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and hit that subscribe button, or you can find the Locked On Sports Today channel now on Amazon Fire TV. Either way, you won't want to miss it because it'll keep you updated on everything. We are now 49 days until opening day, and those of you who are everydayers and were listening yesterday, I said we were 51 days away. There is a reason, people, why I'm not a math person and I'm sitting here hosting a daily Boston Red Sox podcast and not working as an accountant right now. I do not do math, so from now on, I will be Googling and just remembering each day as it goes by. So that being said, we are 49 days away from opening day, and it's very important that today in particular, we honor and remember the best, most legendary Red Sox player to wear number 49, and that's Mr. Tim Wakefield himself. He just feels like he was on the Red Sox forever. Just such a fan favorite, not only due to his famous knuckleball, but just with the person and the leader and the baseball player that he was. He just had so many memories in a Boston Red Sox uniform, and it was admirable what he did off the field too. He actually cared about helping others and giving back off the field, and it's very sad that he ended up getting really sick and passing away way too young. I still can't even fathom it to this day. But he spent from 1995 until his retirement in 2012 with the Boston Red Sox as the longest serving player on the team. When he retired at age 45 after 19 seasons in MLB, Wakefield was the oldest active player in the major leagues. He actually won his 200th career game on September 13th, 2011, and ranks third in career wins in Red Sox franchise history with 186. The only two people ahead of him in that category are Cy Young and Roger Clemens. He's also second in all-time wins at Fenway Park with 97, behind Clemens's 100. And he's also the all-time leader in innings pitched by a Red Sox pitcher with 3,006 innings pitched. He actually passed Clemens in that category on June 8th, 2010. Clemens' number is 2,777. Wakefield was also an All-Star in 2009, and he won the Roberto Clemente Award in 2010. There's so much that you can say about Wake. He just was one of the best players to ever put on a Boston Red Sox uniform, and I am incredibly grateful to have been able to watch him play. And there was just so much to like about Wakefield. Just a genuinely nice and good person who approached the game in the best way possible. And even if you were a fan of another team, you still found yourself loving and rooting for Tim Wakefield. He's just one of those players who was always a good role model for the sport, and any baseball fan should feel grateful to have been watching his kind of talent, because he just really did it all for Boston. And I just really hope that his family's doing okay now, because I still can't even imagine that. But just a lot of great memories of Tim Wakefield with the Boston Red Sox, and then coming and, doing a lot of outside stuff in the community and being an announcer. And he just loved the game of baseball. And it showed every time he stepped foot on the mound. It showed that he just loved the sport. And that's what was special about him. It was absolutely so special that he just was a big baseball guy. He just was the embodiment of what everybody should be. And he'll never be forgotten. And every single memory you can think of him is an absolute blessing. It really is. And I'm just super lucky to have watched him play. So number 49 will live on forever in Boston Red Sox history and baseball history in general. We are now approaching opening day pretty soon, so we'll see what the Red Sox do. But in the meantime, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.